Welcome to Geek Philosophy, where it's all geek to me. Today we're taking a deep dive into one of the most influential books ever written, not just in philosophy, but in human history itself. I'm talking about the Nicomachean Ethics by Aristotle. And honestly, this might be one of the most important books you could read right now. Because while modern culture is constantly asking, what makes you successful? What makes you powerful? What makes you famous? Aristotle asks a much deeper question. What makes a human life good? Not pleasurable, not wealthy, not viral, not politically dominant, just good. And before we get into the philosophy itself, I need to show you the edition that I've been reading because this thing is absolutely gorgeous. I've been reading the Logos Publishing Philosophy Club edition of Nicomachean Ethics, and this may genuinely be one of the nicest philosophy editions that I own. The Philosophy Club focuses on beautifully designed hardcover editions of classic philosophical works with bilingual formatting and premium presentation designed for serious study and collecting. And this edition feels like philosophy should feel. The cover design, it's beautiful. Paper quality is incredible. The typesetting is clean and readable. Even the packaging feels intentional. It feels less like buying a book and more like building a personal library. And if you want to join the club yourself, you can use my link in the description below and make sure to use the promo code Jeremy, Jeremy, to get yourself a discount. That supports the channel and helps me keep making deep dive philosophy content just like this. Now, with that said, let's talk about why this book has survived for over 2,000 years. The entire Nicomachean Ethic revolves around one massive idea. What is the highest good for human beings? Aristotle's answer is what he calls Eudaimonia, usually translated as happiness, but that translation is honestly kind of terrible because Aristotle doesn't mean happiness in the modern emotional sense. He doesn't mean feeling good, having fun, or avoiding discomfort. He means something closer to human flourishing, living well, functioning well, becoming what a human being is supposed to become. And this is where Aristotle immediately feels incredibly modern, because we live in a culture absolutely obsessed with pleasure, comfort, entertainment, distraction, outrage, and status signaling, but deeply confused about flourishing. We have more conveniences than almost any civilization in history, and yet people are anxious, lonely, aimless, spiritually exhausted. Aristotle would probably say that's because pleasure is not the same thing as purpose. One of Aristotle's most famous arguments is what philosophers call the function argument, which basically states if you want to know what makes something good, you ask, what is its function? A good knife cuts well. A good eye sees well. A good musician performs well. So what is the function of a human being? Aristotle argues that what separates humans from animals is rational activity, reason, thought, deliberation, even moral judgment. And therefore, the good human life is a life where reason governs action virtuously, not perfectly, virtuously. And this is where modern audiences sometimes misunderstand Aristotle. They think virtue ethics means follow the rules. But Aristotle is actually less interested in rules than in character. He's asking, what kind of person are you becoming? That's a radically different ethical framework from modern internet morality. Modern discourse often reduces morality to tribal identity, public signaling, or finding the correct opinion. Aristotle is asking something much harder. Are you becoming wise, courageous, disciplined, temperate, and just? Not, did you post correctly? This is probably the most famous concept in the book, that virtue exists between extremes. Courage, for example, exists between cowardice and recklessness. Confidence exists between timidity and arrogance. Generosity exists between stinginess and wastefulness. And this is one reason Aristotle feels so psychologically insightful. Because most human failure isn't usually caused by pursuing something completely evil. It's usually caused by imbalance. Too much anger, too little anger, too much pride, too little self-respect. Aristotle sees virtue almost like tuning an instrument. The goal is harmony, not extremism. And honestly, this is why Aristotle feels almost anti-social media. Because social media rewards extremes. Outrage gets clicks, nuance doesn't. But Aristotle thinks wisdom often lives in disciplined balance. Not lukewarm compromise, balance. That's different. One of the most important ideas in the entire book is that virtue is formed through habit. You become just by doing just actions. You become courageous by practicing courage. You become disciplined by practicing discipline. And this is where Aristotle absolutely destroys the modern obsession with identity labels. Because Aristotle would say, you are not what you claim to be. You are what you repeatedly do. That's brutal, but it's also liberating. Because it means character is not merely inherited, it's cultivated. You are becoming someone through repetition every single day. The things you normalize shape you. The media you consume shapes you. The people around you shape you. Your routines shape you. Aristotle understands something modern neuroscience now heavily supports. Habits build persons. And honestly, this may be one of the most underrated sections of the entire book. Aristotle's discussion of friendship is beautiful. He identifies three kinds of friendship: friendships of utility, friendships of pleasure, and friendships of virtue. Utility friendships exist because both people benefit. Pleasure friendships exist because both people enjoy each other. But virtue friendships are different. Those exist because both people genuinely desire the good for one another. Not usefulness, not entertainment, goodness. Aristotle thinks these friendships are rare. He's probably right, because genuine friendship requires mutual virtue, honesty, trust, admiration, and time. And in a culture increasingly built around performative connection and algorithmic engagements, Aristotle reminds us that real friendship is transformational, not transactional. One thing people often miss is that Aristotle sees ethics and politics as connected, not in the modern partisan sense, but in the sense that society shapes character. A culture that rewards vice will produce vice. A culture that rewards virtue helps cultivate virtue. And whether you agree with Aristotle on every political conclusion or not, it's hard to deny he's onto something there. Because cultures absolutely shape people. If a civilization glorifies greed, vanity, outrage, indulgence, and tribal hatred, shouldn't be surprised when citizens become greedy, vain, outraged, indulgent, and tribal. Aristotle believed societies should help cultivate human flourishing. That's still a relevant question today. The reason Nicomachean Ethics survives is because Aristotle understands something timeless. A good life is not something you stumble into accidentally. It's something you cultivate intentionally. And unlike a lot of modern self-help culture, Aristotle does not promise instant transformation. He promises lifelong formation. This is slow philosophy, demanding philosophy, sometimes frustrating philosophy, but deeply human philosophy. And what's fascinating is how often Aristotle sounds like a detached academic and more like someone genuinely trying to help human beings live wisely. Not perfectly, just wisely. And honestly, this edition of Logos Publishing feels like the perfect way to experience a book like this. This isn't the kind of work you speed read once and toss on the shelf. This is a lifetime book. You keep, you annotate, you revisit, argue with it, grow with it, and that's exactly the kind of presentation this edition gives it. The Logos Philosophy Club publishes carefully designed editions of major philosophical works for readers building a serious philosophy collection. So if you want to start building your own philosophy library, check out the club using my link below in the description. Join the Logos Philosophy Book Club and use my promo code Jeremy, Jeremy. It helps support Geek Philosophy and helps me keep making content like this. And honestly, in an age obsessed with becoming influential, Aristotle still asks the far more important question: are you becoming good? If you enjoyed this deep dive, please share, like, and subscribe, then join or begin a discussion in the comments below. As always, this has been Geek Philosophy. It's all geek to me. And until next time, don't just watch, think.